Okay, so we have a 2005 Toyota Camry, and we're going to replace front pads and the rotors right there. Quite a simple job to do. All we need to do is we're going to go to the back right there. These are 14 mil bolts, so we're going to undo those. If they spin, you're going to just put a wrench on that to hold it so you can get the bolt out. That'll take the caliper off. Then what we're going to do is take out the pads, and then here you can see actually I got my trusty little socket there. Those are, there we go, right in there. That's 17 mil bolts, and what that's going to do, those two, is it's going to take off the caliper bracket, which is going to allow us to take the rotor off. Okay, now that we have the actual caliper itself off, we got to push this piston back. I have this handy dandy little tool, as you can see there, and then when you ratchet it, these will spread open. So what they'll do with the piston there inside the caliper is they will push it back to where it should be. So I'm just going to adjust the camera here so we can see it working in action. There we go. So now we're going to put this just in here. Some people use like a big pair of pliers or something, but that can actually cause the cylinder to bind because you'll be pushing it on an angle. If you do it this way, it goes in flat, so it pushes equally all areas. So now there you go, we're gonna push it back. There we go. And you can see the caliper is, the caliper piston is pushed back in its bore. So now what we're gonna do is we're going to take off the bracket right here. So we can leave this just to the side here, just like so. And there we go, just like that. And then there we can see there's our not much left on the pads, as you can see. And then the rotor just pops off just like that. And then we're ready to put our new rotor on. Okay, before moving over to the caliper, what I did is I gave these a little cleanup. Make sure you do it in a well-ventilated area because it creates fine dust. So have your garage open, or make sure you wear a respirator mask, something like that. So now what I'm doing is I'm just putting some anti-seize on the actual flange here that the new rotor will sit on. And then this way with the anti-seize, we can make sure the next person who does the brakes, which will probably be me on this car, this way we can make sure that everything comes off nice and easy and nothing is rusted and stuck on. Okay, so now here we have the caliper bracket out. You can see that's where it mounts to the spindle. And we have the pins right here. One of the pins actually popped out, but we can put that back in. And then we're gonna make sure we clean these up and make sure these seat in there nicely. So we'll take a look at those. Let's pull the old pads out. So old pads are out. Okay, so now we're gonna put, here's our new pads. So we're gonna put new shims in. And you can see here's the shape of the old shims, pretty rusted up. So the new ones are gonna go just like this. But before we do so, just to prevent corrosion, we're going to put a little bit of anti-seize on them. So what we're going to do is just a little bit of anti-seize. And then there we have our new caliper, all in good shape. Take our 2 pads. Now what we can do, sometimes if you get a little pad squeal, what you can always do is spray them with a little bit of disc brake quiet. It's easy to do. And all we're going to do to put the pads in is just slide them in like this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them a quick spray first. We'll show you how to do that. Okay, so I just found a clean part of the rag here with obviously no grease. We wiped it with the other side, so we're just going to take some disc brake quiet. Going to shake it up a wee bit. Just like that. Make sure you're in a ventilated area. I don't know if you can see the fumes coming off, but it's there. And then all we're going to do, give it a minute to set. Going to take them off. And we're going to put them in just like so. Okay, so now we're gonna put our new rotor on. You can see here we got a brand new rotor. It's a coated rotor, so it'll provide a bit of anti-corrosion resistance. So we're gonna just put that on, just like so. And as you can see, it fits nicely. Make sure nothing's touching there. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab, we have our 2 bolts. These are these 17 mil bolts. One goes right in there, and then the other at the bottom there. So we're gonna put our caliper that we just did. Be careful not to knock the pads out. So we're just gonna put it just like this. We're gonna hold it down, and then just like this. There we go, it's in. Now, if you notice, I'm putting them in by hand. I don't really trust using the gun because it might over torque them. So I'm just gonna put the bolts in by hand. And we just wanna make sure they're tight. I don't know the exact specifications, but I can sort of feel when they tighten right up. What I do, just for a little test, I just put them on a breaker bar just like this, and I just make sure that they're fairly snug. And that's good and snug, top and bottom. So now that those are snugged up, that's nice. So now what we do is we take our caliper, we're gonna center it back on. Might have to push our slider pins in, just like this. There you go. And these ones, if you remember, it's a 14 millimeter head. And just like our last ones, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna torque these last 2 bolts by hand.